Hey guys, Super Twisted here, and on today's Hot Ice vlog is a review of the movie Mother featuring Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem. So in this video, I normally just dump ice into hot tea and watch it melt while I talk. But in this one, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do basically what this movie does to its story, I'm going to do to the tea that I have right here. So I'm going to start it off normally and then just dump in the tea. And then as I explain what they're doing, I'm going to uh, do to the tea what I think they're doing. So let's begin. So I did three, and then two. Jeez. So this movie is just to tell you quickly what my thoughts about this movie were. Is This movie is very into itself. It kind of feels like a waste of time if you're not into sort of high art, or if you're not into movies that sort of go left field very quickly. This movie's probably not for you. The movie's very decadent with its imagery. It's just everything is so overdone and so serious and so haphazard. It's very heavy-handed, and it just assumes that you're going to sort of study the movie before you see it, so that you can sort of understand everything that's going on. So at the core of this movie is a creation story. So it's about this writer who has this house, and he has a wife, and she fixes the house and she makes it look nice while he writes. So it's a creation story in that, and in a creation story, it's sort of a biblical creation story. So it's Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and all of that seems to make sense. Up to the point where Cain and Abel, or Cain kills Abel, or however that works. The movie sort of makes sense inside of itself. These people are trying to use the writer for his space. They're sort of leeches, or they're just, hanger-oners. And Jennifer Lawrence is trying to get them from out of their grasp, because they're just using him, and she doesn't like that. So it's pretty much a biblical story. And then the movie sort of turns into a movie sort of about the commons, environmental stewardship. Just got just some black pepper there. And they do some of that. And what they do with that part of it, they're sort of making this allegory that the house they live in is sort of the planet. The house is living. And as people are coming into the house, I'm not going to spoil the whole movie, but I'm going to talk about, generally what happens. As people are coming into the house and sort of destroying it, the house itself is sort of decaying and getting, more beat up and destroyed and everything. And it's very, like, it makes sense what they're doing, but they're just doing too much. It was very into itself, very into itself. So the environmental aspect of this movie, or what they say the environmental aspect of this movie, was sort of how people treat things that aren't there. It's the tragedy of the commons. It's not theirs, and so they want to get as much of it as they possibly can, because they don't have to pay for it, or that this guy, or the writer now, is basically a celebrity. So they turned what is sort of a Mother Earth sort of narrative, and how we treat the planet, then sort of turns into like this cultish sort of celebrity worship story, where everybody wants to sort of live with this man, and he becomes a sort of a religious figure. And how sort of from Javier Bardem, the God character, or the writer character in this movie, He is seeking out this adulation that he's receiving from all these people. He likes it, and at one point, he turns and says, why am I enough for you? I want them more than you want me. They don't really answer that. Probably not going to drink this anymore. They don't really answer it, but they sort of make the point, and they make it over and over again. And it is almost like this movie was written by three people, sort of like a school project where you have three people and you say, you write the beginning, you write the middle, and he'll write the end, and then you just put it all together at the end. That's sort of how this felt, because there were three distinct pieces, parts of the movie. You have the Cain and Abel creation story, you have the creation story and Cain and Abel. Then you have this sort of like God worship piece of it, and then you also have the sort of environmental. Well, that's in the middle of the environmental stuff, and then at the end you have like this sort of God complex. And the way they ended, I don't want to mess it up, or I mean, this movie's messed up, and I wouldn't suggest anyone go see it. But if you want to, if you do want to watch it after this, because it is out there, it's almost like Aqua Teen Hunger Force or Adventure Time. It's sort of like that, where like things are just coming out of nowhere. And there's a funeral for Abel. I think if you went to the bathroom right when the funeral is happening and you came back 5 minutes later, you would be completely confused about what was going on. You would have no idea how it got to, like, it turns into basically a riot inside these people's house, inside their house. Where did all of this come from? The movie's just very into itself. I don't want to get into the end because, I don't want to just destroy it. But it's the end is interesting, but it's just so heavy-handed, and you're so exhausted by the end of it that it's even what was sort of cool, it still didn't satisfy your need for answers. And it also created more questions about really what is the role of the crystal, what is the role of the woman, Jennifer Lawrence's character, or whoever that person is at the time. It is just very, I don't want to say into itself. It's very over the top. And it was almost like the story was maybe an afterthought. I mean, the movie's a spectacle. I think that's the best way to put it. The movie is a spectacle. It's performance art in movie form. This is... I'm going to end it there. This is... I don't know what this is. I mean, can you even call this tea anymore? The beginning of the movie... you know what it's about. The movie is about creation. It's sort of a God allegory, right? But towards the end, you've added so much stuff into the movie that, is this still the story that it started off as? And does it make sense? And I feel a lot of what they did was they did it for the sake of doing it, not for the sake of making sure that it made sense inside the craziness that they built. Some of it makes sense, and they did, that the characters act predictably. So there is some logic running through this movie. But after you've done all of this, is this still tea? Can I still drink this? Of course I can drink it, but is this drinkable? Is it watchable? And it's not. This is Super Twisted. This has been a Hot Ice vlog. I'm going to go throw up now.